Today on CJ Off-Road, we're going to be installing a set of these JKS Quick Disconnects on the front end of my 2018 JL. Now, I've been running these standard sway bar links on the front here, and I got to be honest with you guys, going out to the trail and bringing an 18mm socket and wrench is not really the way I want to start my day on the trail. So by adding these JKS Quick Disconnects, I'm going to be able to simply remove them by pulling a pin and setting them aside. This is going to allow me for a lot more articulation on the front end of my Jeep without using any tools at all. So today we're going to get them installed on our Jeep Wrangler, but this will be the same installation if you've got a Jeep Gladiator. Now for these, I have the 2.5 to 6 inch lift height because I am at a 3.5 inch lift, but there is a 0 to 2 inch as well. This is going to fit all Rubicon, Sahara, Sports, and all models on the Gladiator. So that being said, let's get these things thrown on. So obviously we have our Jeep up in the air. You can do this while you're sitting at ride height. It'll actually be a little bit easier because you can just keep it at that position when you go to find the correct length for your JKS sway bar link. But the first thing we want to do is remove the lower end of the link, and we're going to use an 18mm socket as well as an 18mm ratchet wrench to pull this bolt out. Go ahead and pop the nut off, pull our bolt out and set that aside. And then on the other side, we're going to repeat the exact same process. Besides the fact that we won't need to use our wrench on this side because there is a flag nut, we'll only need to use the socket on the outside to pull it out. Now to remove the upper part of the link, you're going to use an 18mm ratchet wrench or a standard box wrench and a 6mm Allen key socket to hold the center there. We do have aftermarket, but they use the same size. And then once you pull the nut off, you can remove the sway bar link. So now that we have both of these sway bar links off, the only part where you really have to modify is going to be this outer bracket here on the passenger side. Now we do have to mark this back 1.25 inches and cut it off, and then we'll hit it with some spray paint to make sure it doesn't rust. But the reason we're removing this is because there's going to be a stud coming through this side, and if we have both of these here, it'll bolt in and we won't be able to have a quick disconnect. So grab a sawzall or a cutting device of your choice, mark it back 1.25 inches from this edge, cut it off, and then we'll hit it with some spray paint. So now we can grab our JKS Quick Disconnect sway bar link, and what we're going to do is install this bolt up top with our polyurethane spacer in between the actual sway bar link and the sway bar here, so that'll slide on. There's a washer on this side. We'll put a washer on the back side as well, and then we'll throw a mechanical lock nut on there too. Now at this point, the next thing that we want to do is go ahead and install our studs down here below, but we don't want to get this aligned up. You see we already have this kind of adjusted here. We're going to align this when it's sitting on the ground. That way we can figure out exactly how tall we want our sway bar to be. But while it's up in the air, we will take our liberty of showing you guys exactly how to install that lower stud. That way we can get those on and get this thing on the ground and get it set to its final height. So what we're going to do is put the longer of the two studs facing towards the center of the vehicle, and you're also going to slide one of those isolators on. You can do that at any time. We're going to go ahead and use a punch here or a small screwdriver to put it up through the hole, and then use a 3/4 inch ratchet wrench or a socket on the back side. We'll just get this all the way tightened up, and I like to have them personally, the clips up and down, but you can do it front to back if you like, just to put them in the same location on both sides. That way you know exactly where they need to go. And once you have those tightened down, we can repeat the exact same process on the other side, get our stud into place, and then we'll set our Jeep onto the ground, get this adjusted, and get them into their final locations. So now JKS did include this bracket to hold the sway bar link up and out of the way when you are out on the trail. You'll simply swing the bottom out and put it on this end, and then clip it in, and it'll hold it nice and tight for you. Now we do have aftermarket inner fenders, and since we had to move the power steering pump over in order to install the Hemi, we are going to have to modify our inner fenders to make this work. So we're going to do that off camera and get it to work eventually, but for right now, the only thing you need to do is hold this up, and there's a hole here and a hole on the front of your coil bucket. You go ahead and grab your hardware with 2 washers and simply bolt that in there. You're going to have a side specific, and it's going to have a little notch which matches the notch on the coil bucket, and you'll simply bolt it into place if you do have the plastic inner fenders. Then we can lower this thing to the ground, tighten everything up, and we're done. Alright guys, well about 45 minutes later, and we've got these JKS Quick Disconnects installed on the front end of my 2018 JL Wrangler. Now overall, what this is going to do is allow us to disconnect on the trail a whole lot easier than we had before. I used to have to go out on the trail and use an 18 mil and an 18 socket and kind of screw around underneath there to get this thing disconnected and then tape it up out of the way. So it really wasn't good, and plus we've got such a nice Jeep here. I wanted to make sure that we could do this a lot easier and do it a lot more safe. You know, I've run JKS in a lot of my other vehicles. It's a great product, plus it really performs well out on the trail. It's got everything adjusted here and tightened down on the ground. We figured out exactly where we want our sway bar. If you look at your sway bar, we've got ours just a little bit above horizontal, so we've got maybe at 10 degrees more than horizontal. That's how you want it for on-ride height. You don't want to have the sway bar completely down because you won't have any travel, and you don't want it too high because you'll be hitting your inner fender like we used to on mine. Overall, guys, if you're looking for an easier way to disconnect your sway bars, I'd highly recommend these JKS Quicker Disconnect sway bar links. They're going to fit for a 0 up to 6.5 inch lift depending on the part number that you order, and they're available right here at cjponyparts.com. Now make sure you stay tuned to our social media pages. You don't want to miss anything up there. We're going to post it there before it gets on YouTube, and I'll see you guys out on the trail.